Hi, First Descents community. This is Sprinkles, and I am here with a visualization meditation to help us set intentions going into the new year, 2026. This is a two-step process. We're going to meditate and then we're going to journal. So you will need either a journal or a piece of paper and a pen or something to write with. I'll give you just a second to go ahead and get that. And you can also get comfortable. I'm going to do a brief intro, but if you're wanting to go ahead and get comfortable, and you can lay down and listen or find a comfortable chair wherever you're going to want to do this meditation. All right. So when we set intentions, it leads us towards manifesting something. And this is actually a scientific process, not just like some woo-woo thing that we do. The reason it's scientific is because even though our brains, they seem very complex, but they don't really know the difference between imagining doing something and then actually doing that experience. So when we visualize something, like we're going to be visualizing intentions, it activates neural pathways in the brain and it makes us think we're doing that, which is really, really cool. And this is why Olympic athletes, for example, use visualization to imagine that they're doing like if they ski the moguls and do the flip, right? They're gonna like imagine themselves doing it perfectly over and over again, so that when they actually go to do it, their bodies are just like following what they're seeing in their mind rather than like if you visualize yourself crashing or something, then most likely, like on a bike, if you look at the tree, you're going to go into the tree, right? Instead of looking just straight ahead and imagining yourself like going down the path nice and fluidly, similar to like riding a rapid at if you're like in a kayak or surfing a wave, or if you're climbing some difficult rock face at a first ascents program. We actually have a pre-programmed mindfulness video, and there's a visualization exercise on that. It's on our YouTube channel, and some of you who went on programs this past season may have seen those. They went out before you went on a program, and it invited you to visualize yourself in the experience. We used, coming into your senses and imagining your environment, and then actually doing the activity. And the reason for doing this pre-program is to help reduce anxiety about something, because sometimes it can feel a little nerve-wracking going into something new. And so visualizing yourself doing it also makes you feel a little bit more successful when it comes time to do that. The reason visualizing, like the sciencey part of it too, the reason it leads us to believe we can do something is because the brain, once we visualize it, naturally just starts to look for those things. It's an interesting, like forward momentum, I guess you could call it. And we just start to see opportunities instead of obstacles. And similar to, like I said, if you don't visualize something positive, then the brain might try to protect you instead versus like looking for that more the optimistic part. So your thoughts can definitely shape your reality. We have that perception and what do we choose to believe comes into play here. Let's take this into real life. Like you're navigating a serious health condition, such as MS or cancer, and you're going in for a doctor's appointment. You don't know what they're going to say, but it's like your big annual one for the year. You might have a scan or, some labs or something that you might be nervous about. And leading up to it, our bodies keep the score. So we start to feel like the anxiety of it and the nervousness of it because you've done this before. You've been to doctor's appointments and it's not our favorite thing to do, right? So your body can tense up and maybe start to feel a little bit anxious. But what if you started to bring in some positive thinking and thinking about it as in like, I'm going to imagine that the scans are clear or that my labs are healthy and start to like sort of visualize this like more healing light coming into your body and just enveloping around your organs and throughout and just filling you up as you breathe in Visualizing just light filling your body. And as you exhale, imagine you're exhaling anything out of your body that doesn't feel like it needs to be there. And then again, inhaling, breathing in, cultivating that goodness within, healing light, and exhaling, just letting go of what feels stagnant, what feels unhealthy, what feels like it doesn't need to be in your body. And the good thing about this is like, even if you go to the doctor's appointment later and you don't get the news you're hoping for, at least you didn't spend all those days worrying about it because all that stress can actually cause kind of more unease within the body. And we don't really want that, right? So, may as well try to cultivate what we can. That is visualizing the positive. We also have a healing light visualization on our YouTube channel of resources. And so it's a meditation and you could do that. Feel free to check in. Or there's also a meditation led by B2, Bethany Webb. And it's about scanxiety. So if you have some like maybe nervousness about a scan, that can help you to release some of the thoughts about that. Okay, so now let's apply all of this to our meditation for the year, and let's see how visualization can start to change how we interface with the world in 2026. All right, get comfortable. This is where if you want to lay down, lay down. I usually like to put a pillow under my head and maybe even one underneath my knees when I lay down. That allows your body to just kind of like settle in. You could put a blanket over your whole body or just even over your torso, which is a grounding effect. If you're sitting, sometimes a chair is really the most comfortable with your feet flat on the floor. And then that allows you to really ground down into your sit bones and lift your spine long up against the back of the chair, allowing your shoulders to shrug up and then back. Then taking your head, gently shrugging it back above your shoulders. Our head's really heavy, so like when it's over here, it pulls us forward and we start to round. So trying to just allow the head to go right up above your spine and stacking it. All right. And then if it's comfortable for you, I invite you to close down your eyes or just find a soft gaze. A soft gaze would be on like a drishti or a focal point in front of you. And take some deep breaths in through the nose, sigh it out through the mouth. Do that a few times in through the nose, big breath in, and big sigh out, letting go. Similar to that visualization I took you through in the warm up, you can just imagine that you're breathing in love, light, happiness, whatever you're wanting to cultivate in this new year, and letting go of whatever feels a little bit stagnant. What do you want to leave back in 2026? For me, that's a lot. I think a lot of people had a rough year in 2026. So bringing in the hope and the peace and all of the faith that we have in the unfolding of the new year, exhaling, letting go of what no longer is invited in, what we want to leave behind. Now let's go ahead, keeping the eyes closed, to get our feet wet with the process of visualizing a bit through something that we already know. And so I invite you to imagine yourself in a place in nature. Maybe that's a location of a first ascents experience. Maybe it's the Outer Banks or up in the Adirondacks, or you might be in Colorado in Estes Park, the Hogue River. You pick your place you've been or that you want to go, or someplace that's completely unrelated to a first ascents experience, just your favorite place in nature. Just imagine what you see around you, whether there's water, mountains, lots of greenery. What do you smell? And the sounds that you hear, sounds of nature. Taking some deep breaths in through the nose and then back out through the mouth. Now imagine that At the FD experience, there was an activity to do. So bringing yourself back to that. And again, if you weren't at an FD experience, just imagine yourself doing something out in nature that feels inspiring, that maybe felt challenging. And how did you feel before it? Maybe you were a little nervous or excited. Maybe you were skeptical. What did you do to help you feel more ready to do the activity? Maybe you did try visualization. Maybe you tried some breathing exercises. Maybe you tried to feel grounded first. And what did you do during the activity? Did you believe in yourself or did you have doubts? Both are fine. Did you stay present and eventually find a flow state? And then after, how did you feel? Were you disappointed? And did it make you try again? Did you feel exhilarated or empowered or ultimately glad that you tried? Was the overall sentiment something that was positive or perhaps maybe not? And that's okay too. And so hopefully you experience what it was like to sort of visualize your environment and how you felt your emotions, what was going on. We're going to bring that back to the present moment. So sort of time travel back to the now. And I want you to think of something that you hope to do this year. Just one thing. It doesn't have to be complicated. It doesn't have to be far out into the future. It could be something this month, or it could be something that you want by the end of the year. And think about the why you want to do this. So, what is making you feel like this is important to you? What within you makes you feel like you really want to do this thing? And the why is really your value. And so it makes us, when we know the why behind it, it makes us more like inclined to stick to it because we feel like we understand why it's important. What will you gain if you succeed in doing this, and how will you feel? And now imagine yourself doing this thing in great detail, beginning at the beginning. Just let it slowly unfold. So take your time. Notice if you're having a hard time getting started, which is normal, and what you can do to bring yourself into the moment so that you can start to move forward. And then what happens next? And notice how it feels if you get stuck along the way. Totally normal. It's rare that we do things perfect, right? Especially on the first time. So thinking of how do you persevere? And once you get to that point where you see yourself doing what you're hoping to do, how do you feel? Now, so we're in a little bit more of a relaxed state. If you're not feeling relaxed, take a few more deep breaths in through the nose, out through the mouth. And also, you can put hand on heart and belly and take some breaths this way. That has like a very grounding effect that will connect you to your body so that you get out of your mind. So we really want to be in this space that's like in our heart. more in the body, a sense of our what our soul wants us to do. So in this more relaxed yet motivated state, think of what just one word that embodies the essence of your hopes and dreams. What one word comes to you? Lately, I've been using the word vitality a lot. There's a sense of, you know, learning to thrive again rather than survive and coming into the best sense of self, physically, emotionally, mentally. When I think of vitality, and so you might have a word that resonates for you, and also could be a simple one, something like peace or presence. The other one for me is presence, because really when we're present, like that's all we have is this moment. It's truly a gift to be in the present moment. And I'm not, I'm always surprised actually at like how often I feel pulled away from the present moment and doing something else. And I'm like, be here now. That's really what it's at. Maybe this word also might go back towards your why behind why you want to do what you're doing this year. So trying to pull that back in. You may have a few words kind of circulating in your mind and keep them with you. We're going to start to move out of this meditation, and I want you to, though, to stay in this relaxed, dreamlike state as you move out of the meditation. And you're going to grab your journal and writing utensil. I want to give you just some time to write anything that comes to mind. Write down your words or word, and then write down anything else that came up for you during the meditation. And give you a few more moments. You can draw just anything that comes to mind here. And now, if you'd like to go into any more detail, you can just summarize what came to you during your visualization. So maybe writing down in order what came up or some key words or phrases that you'd like to remember. If you're watching the recording, you can always push pause if you need more time here. I'm going to go ahead and start to take us into the intention setting exercise. We were going to take all of this information to form our intention. And so basically, you're going to write down a phrase that resonates with you, that uses that one word. So let's say, like, I want to use the word presence. I might say, I am present, or I feel presence every moment of every day. Yes, that might not be accurate. It might be hard to do it every moment of every day. Yeah, I'm going to try to manifest that. Because if I say, I am present every moment of every day, or I feel presence regularly, then my brain, remember, is going to start bringing me back to the present moment. It's going to be like, oh, remember you said that. Let's be present. And so this is something that you'll repeat to yourself, like an affirmation or a mantra, or you could write it on a sticky note and put it somewhere meaningful so that you can keep referring back to it. If I were going to write it about my word vitality, I might say, like, I feel vitality in my body, mind, and soul. And so that would be reminding my brain to visualize what does it feel like to feel vitality? What does it feel like to feel that physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually? And I'm going to start looking for those things like vitality. Vitality. Is that food going to give me the vitality I want? Is that exercise going to? Is that yoga practice or whatever it is? Like, I'm going to start seeking out the opportunities to want to find vitality. All right. And we're just going to make sure that that phrase that you're writing down is in the present tense. I meant to say that because we don't want to say like I will feel vitality because that means you're always going to be reaching for the future and to be in the present moment is the now. So I am present. I feel presence. I feel vitality. I am vitality. Um, so making sure that that is written down. And the reason we do this is because when we're setting intentions, we actually need to pair it with action. So it's one thing to visualize, it's another to set an intention. So those are our tools. We can see ourselves doing it. We can remind ourselves regularly what that is with the intention or the affirmation we created. And then we actually need to apply an action to it. And by doing so, then we actually take steps forward, right? Like that is now the task at hand is to think of one thing, or maybe it's three things that you can do right now this week that will help you take a step forward towards that intention. Like if with vitality, for example, I can say that I'm going to cut back on the amount of sugar that I eat because it's like very easily just to like eat all the yummy things that are around. And I'm going to try to maybe cut back on that. Or I could say, like, it might be a multi-step thing. Like, I'm going to make sure that I'm not on my phone at night so that I can go to sleep earlier, so that I can wake up earlier and have enough space to have a more regular yoga practice because that's a cycle I catch myself in of like trying to finish some things up at night and then I get down the rabbit hole, right? Because that's what the phone does. And then all of a sudden I'm up later than I want to, and I really want to wake up earlier so that I have time before my daughter wakes up so that I can do my yoga practice. Um, and so that's where my heart is at for vitality. All right. So, with all of this, I'm hopeful that you can start to take your intention and then start making those actions this week and continue to visualize yourself doing it. And then notice, check in with yourself about mid-month and just be like, where am I? And no pressure whatsoever. But that's another action is like allowing yourself to check back in and then come back and meet with us live in the beginning of February. I'm really curious to see how many of you were able to take some steps forwards towards manifesting. And again, no worries if not, it's just good information. We can then try again. There's always begin again. That is what I'm going to leave you with is the concept of begin again. When we begin something, sometimes we get derailed, and that's okay. And we can then start again every day. And in fact, every moment of every day, we can begin again. So I invite you to apply that with some compassion and grace as you're trying to do something new. Thank you so much for joining us for this mindful moment. And I just send you the best wishes going into 2026. And I hope that this intention setting exercise really resonated with you today. Namaste.